What's up everybody, and welcome to the video on number properties. Let's do it. This video is all about knowing the different types of numbers. So I'm going to give you a quick tree and different examples of all the different types of numbers that you should know and may have to encounter. Some of these are not super relevant for the ISEE, they're a bit higher level, but it's good to know the categories and classifications of all numbers. So first we're going to start with the largest categories, the biggest categories, and that is we've got real numbers and imaginary numbers. Okay, so we're talking about imaginary numbers. It really boils down to this one type of number, which is I, and that represents the square root of -1. That's really all I'm going to tell you for this video for the ISEE. You don't need to know much more than that, other than the reason why an imaginary number is an imaginary number is because you can't have the square root of a negative number. There are no numbers times themselves that will give you a negative number in the real number plane, because any positive times a positive is positive, a negative times a negative is also positive. So there's no way to get this, so they created a new category of numbers called imaginary numbers to represent these guys. So we have two main categories: imaginary numbers, just these I's; real numbers encompasses everything else. All right, now let's break down real numbers. Real numbers now can be broken down into two other categories. Okay, we've got rational numbers and irrational numbers, or non-rational numbers. But what is a rational number? A rational number, it can be a 1, like an integer, it can be a fraction, it can be a decimal. But basically the idea is anything that can be represented as a ratio or as a fraction. If it cannot be represented as a fraction, it is an irrational number. So what are some examples of irrational numbers? Well, we have pi, okay, that can't be represented as a fraction. It goes on and on and on forever for the decimals. They don't terminate. Also square root of 2, same thing. It is irrational. All right, now let's break rational numbers down farther. So the next category we can say are integers. Okay, so integers are a subcategory of rational numbers. What are integers? Integers are whole numbers like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It also includes 0, and it also includes negative whole numbers like -1, -2, -3, things like that. Okay, so now let's break down integers further. Now we got more subcategories. So integers, then we also have whole numbers. Whole numbers represents just the positive side of integers and 0. So we got 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so on and so forth as we get bigger and bigger. And then whole numbers has a subcategory within it called natural numbers, which is just like whole numbers, but we don't include 0. Finally, let's talk about one other special type of number that's super important, which is called a prime number. So what is a prime number? A prime number is any number greater than 1 that is only divisible by itself and 1. So what does that mean? What's an example of a prime number? So first of all, the smallest prime number that there is 2. Okay, 2 is only divisible. When I say divisible, I mean divisible cleanly by an integer. It can be divided by 1 and also 2. That's it. And so therefore it is prime. Another example is 5. 5 has no factors other than 1 and 5. Another example is 7. Another example is 13, right? So like if we look at 12, for example, 12 is not a prime number because it's divisible by 3, it's divisible by 2, it's divisible by 4, and 6. No good. But 13 only can be divided by 13 and 1. So that's the idea. That's what a prime number is. And they sort of go up and up and up. But if you're ever trying to test to see if something is indeed a prime number, you just gotta see if you can find any factors other than itself and 1. That's all for the video on number properties. Let's get into some practice problems.